All right, let's talk about one of the most misunderstood rules out there, the third commandment. Now, we've all heard it, right? But what does it actually mean?
You know, for most of us, this whole commandment boils down to one simple thing. Don't swear. Like, don't use God's name as a curse word if you, I don't know, stub your toe. But what if that's just the tiniest piece of the puzzle? What if that's not even what it was originally about at all?
See, the ancient Israelites, they weren't really sweating the small stuff like casual profanity. They were worried about something way bigger. We're talking about things like national treason, using God's name to manipulate people, and even trying to harness divine power through, get this, magic. Yeah, this was about cosmic-level respect, not just, being polite.
So to really get why this was such a huge deal, we've got to take a step back and look at what names meant in the ancient world. Because for them, a name was so much more than just a label.
Today, a name is, well, it's a convenient handle, right? Shakespeare's Juliet even asked, "What's in a name?" But back then, it was a totally different ballgame. A name was basically an extension of you, your character, your whole essence. Giving someone your name was like giving them a piece of yourself.
And you see this idea everywhere in the Bible. A person's name and their character are totally linked. You've got Jacob, whose name means grasper. And what does he do? He lives up to it. He cheats his brother. Abram gets a new name when he gets a new destiny. And then you've got this wild story about a guy named Nabal.
This is just perfect. Nabal's wife, Abigail, she literally tells the future King David, "Hey, don't even worry about my husband. His name means fool. And trust me, that's exactly what he is." I mean, can you imagine? In their world, your name was your reputation, plain and simple.
Okay, so if a human name carried all that weight, can you even imagine how they thought about the name of God? It wasn't just a word. It was everything. His reputation, his character, his power. Misusing that name wasn't just rude. It was like a direct attack on God himself.
Okay, so with all that in mind, now we can really get into what it meant to take God's name in vain. That word, vain, in Hebrew, it means something like empty or false. And for the Israelites, there were 3 really specific ways you could do this.
All right, let's break them down. The big 3 violations were blasphemy, making false promises, and using the name in magic. And each one of these is a huge sign of disrespect for God's character and power.
First up, blasphemy. And look, this wasn't about God being sensitive or having a fragile ego. For a nation that believed their entire existence depended on their relationship with God, talking trash about him was like trying to destroy the very foundation of their society. It was treason, pure and simple. It put everyone at risk.
And they took this, well, incredibly seriously. The punishment for this kind of treason wasn't a slap on the wrist, it was death. That's how crucial God's reputation was to the survival and identity of the whole nation.
Okay, the second big no-no takes us from public attacks to personal promises. We're talking about false oaths. Basically, using God's name to back up your words when you're completely lying.
And what's so interesting here is that swearing an oath in God's name was actually a good thing, if you meant it. It was how you showed you were 100% serious. The problem was saying something like, "I swear to God I'll pay you back," when you have zero intention of doing it. That's just using God's good name to scam someone, and it's a massive show of disrespect.
All right, and now for the third one. And this one might sound a little wild to us today. We're talking about using God's name in magic. See, back then, a lot of magicians thought that if you knew a spirit's true name, you could control it. So trying to use God's name in a spell, that was the height of arrogance. It was basically trying to grab the steering wheel from God, to turn the creator of everything into your own personal genie in a bottle that you could command to do your bidding.
And get this for a crazy historical fact. When archaeologists look at magical texts from the Roman era, they're filled with all sorts of God's names. But guess which name appears more than any other? Yep, Yahweh. The very name the Israelites were told to protect was so famous for its power that it became the go-to name for magicians all over.
Okay, so treason, false oaths, magic. I know, it all sounds super ancient, right? But the ideas behind them, slander, manipulation, trying to be in control, those things are still around. So let's bring this into the 21st century.
The packaging is different, but the product is the same. When people publicly mock or misrepresent God's character, that's modern blasphemy. A politician swearing an oath on a holy book with their fingers crossed behind their back, that's a modern false oath. And religious leader using God's name to get rich and powerful, that's just a modern form of magic, trying to use God for your own gain. So you see,
It's way, way bigger than just not using a four-letter word when you're mad. The real heart of it is about attaching God's reputation to our own selfish agendas. It's that moment we say, God is on our side, when we really just mean, I want you to be on my side.
So, if you boil it all down, what's left? This commandment isn't about a list of words you can't say. It's all about one thing: humility. It's about knowing our place in the universe, right? Recognizing who's the creator and who's the creation, and living like we get it. The point is, God isn't a tool for us to use for our goals. It's supposed to be the other way around.
You know, C.S. Lewis nailed this in the Chronicles of Narnia. There's that amazing scene where the kids are learning about Aslan, the great lion, and they're told he is not a tame lion. That's it, right there. God isn't some pet we can command or a tool we can control. We don't get to slap his brand on our personal projects.
And that really brings it all home with a pretty tough question for us. Yeah, it's easy to look at politicians or famous preachers and see how they misuse it. But what about us and our own lives? When do we try to use God's name to justify our own little plans? When do we try to put a leash on that untamed lion?